you have to take that step back and ask yourself, I feel overwhelmed. I am always tired. How did I get here? And what is it that I want for my future? Because your present determines your future. If nothing changes, this is where it's only going to get worse. So you decide. You have to decide. It's all up to you to decide.
Welcome back to the Woman Experience. I am so glad you're here. Every person that comes on every week and listens to this content, thank you for the comments. I see them and I'm so happy because it tells me that we are all on the same journey. No one has everything figured out, and we are seeing the love. So many of you have subscribed in the last few weeks, and welcome. If you know any person who is on a journey of self-mastery, wants to change their life for the better, want to start doing things different, please share with them this channel. And today we are on a masterclass, nothing short of a masterclass, with the powerful Caroline Gikonyo, who is a transformational life coach. And in part one, we talked about our stories. How do we rewrite our narratives? And today, we want her to share her wisdom on the fact that overwhelm, fatigue, tiredness doesn't have to be part of your life on your way to success, because that's what she helps her clients do. So, karibu, Caroline.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You've always talked about being smart in your work, because you work with clients who are movers and shakers, literally. And they come to you because they are also looking for relief. Can you start us off with why overwhelm is such a thing or a big thing that you need to tackle? Because if you don't tackle it, it can be the root cause of all also your emotional. And women, sometimes we feel like tired should be our second name, and we wear that badge with honor and pride. I came, tired. I've washed the kids, I've cooked, I've woken up in my board meeting, I've crushed it. Let's start with
Superwoman syndrome. Yeah, superwoman in the workplace, in the marketplace, supermama, superwife at home. Overwhelm. If you don't take care of it, it leads to burnout. If you don't take care of burnout, you crash.
Wow.
It's as simple as that. But then where is the overwhelm coming from? But then sometimes it's not always because you're trying to do it all at work and at home. Sometimes it's just because you've taken on too much, maybe just at work. And there's something that normally happens to women. And I came across it when I was doing research for an article for my blog. One of the things that happens is when companies are in crisis, it's very easy for them to elevate women to leadership.
Yeah.
Is that the one? The glass cliff, yes.
It's the glass cliff where they put a woman.
They put a woman on top.
Reading that.
And I had never thought about it in such a way. And I was so shocked when I saw the research that has been done about that.
And examples of big multi-corporations.
Exactly. Yeah. And then put a woman in charge, and then she brings the organization, or she brings whatever results that we need. Sometimes it's not the organization. It could just be a department. And once she's done it, you can promote her, or you can promote men over her.
Oh my.
So what happens is, when a woman is in a position of leadership, whether it's the glass cliff or not, we tend to take on too much. We tend to work 3 times or even 4 times as much.
And we've been told to.
Yeah, because we want to prove we can do it.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that sometimes you'll find a woman taking on roles that are for men who work in her team. So they are her juniors. She should be delegating to them, but she's actually doing their work. And sometimes work from peers, men and women. So we just tend to take on too much and to try and do everything and be everything for everyone at all times. So you find that you're working too hard, you're working too long, you're working too much. And then now, say you're a mother, you get home, then there's family. Yeah.
The
And
triple burden.
yeah, and you'll notice that when children don't have enough of you, what do? They start acting up. Yeah. So when you reach home, either you will be chapaing your children, beating them because they did this, they did that. Your domestic manager is waiting with a list of all the
shopping and things that are not
and
there.
even the transgressions the
Of
children
the chil-
did, you know. So there's no harmony. There's no harmony at work. There's no harmony at home. Or maybe you're okay at work. Things are working very well, but things are not working at home. And then you get home because a good woman, what does she do? She, there are all these cultural norms that we were talking about. Maybe in your culture, there are some cultures, the man does not eat food that is cold. Like if it's ugali, you have to cook fresh ugali,
Yes.
and it has to be cooked by the wife,
Yeah.
So those are things you have to do. Or those are things that are part of your framework. Maybe you have said the children should never be washed by the nanny. You're going to wash your children.
Yeah, a lot. That's very common as
Exactly.
also.
So maybe you have just one nanny and there's extra work. You have to take on some roles because she is taking care of your children and your children are her priority. So maybe the house hasn't been cleaned well, so you come, you clean. You're the one to do the shopping. So when you look at your week, so let's not look at a day, let's look at a week. Cumulatively, you're running late. Cumulatively, you're dropping balls. Cumulatively, you're overwhelmed. So when does it stop?
Months, years. So that piles
That
up.
becomes like a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
That becomes your norm. And one day you wake up, there's somebody who came to me for coaching and she was like, is this all there is to life?
Wow.
I have everything. I'm unhappy. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not happy. This is not what I signed up for. But the thing is, it goes back to what we were saying in the last episode, in part 2. You are responsible for where you are. Whether you got there knowingly or unknowingly, you have to take that step back and ask yourself, I feel overwhelmed. I am always tired. How did I get here? And what is it that I want for my future? Because your present determines your future. If nothing changes, this is where it's only going to get worse. So you decide. You have to decide. It's all up to you to decide. But then you probably don't have the inner resources to deal with this on your own. So get help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can afford help by this time. And, even if you cannot go for the expensive therapists or coaches, there's therapy and coaching at very affordable prices. And that's one thing people don't realize. Yeah, so get help. Find out what it is that got you here. Find out the expectations you have placed on yourself. It's not just other people. There's also you. And then you can't just wake up and turn things over.
Overnight. Yeah.
So from today onwards, your ugali is no longer my responsibility. Which husband are you going to tell that?
After 15, 10 years of making hot ugali.
Yeah. From now on, I will not do this. You're not going to write a list of things that you will not do. It has to be gradual. As you're changing, you also have to give people space for them to grow and to adjust. And some of these changes that you may want to make, in coaching, there's something we call ecological responsibility. Is this going to hurt other people unnecessarily? Even your goals. As I am busy pursuing my goals, who is going to get affected?
Wow.
negatively
Yeah.
as a consequence. And am I willing to take responsibility for that? Yeah. So when you weigh all these options, then you decide, what do I want?
Yeah.
So I'm overwhelmed. I'm in a space I don't like. I am stuck. I don't like it. It's painful.
It's really painful.
What do I want?
Yeah.
Then who is going to help me get there? Get out of here and get there to where I want. And it's a process. Give yourself time. Give yourself space. Inform the important people in your life that you're going through a process of change so that it doesn't catch them unnecessarily. It doesn't become unnecessarily painful for them. And if possible, and this is something I tell married women, if you're married or you're in a long-term relationship and it's somebody you discuss things with, it's not somebody who beats you up when you come up with ideas, and you start a personal growth process, please involve your partner.
Wow.
Because what will happen is you will sort yourself out and then you will outgrow your partner.
Oh, yeah.
And they will have no clue.
Who is this new person?
Yeah, who is this new person? So being overwhelmed may not be a choice, but staying overwhelmed is a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there's a woman listening to us and she's thinking it's not that easy.
No, it's not.
Because you've talked of, especially the physical, you're feeling tired, you're frustrated. But since you've talked to the many women, and I'm sure there are those you go back to in your sessions, very little seems to have changed because you sort of become addicted to these, like with the example you gave of, I have to wash the kids and there's a reason why. And this has to be done according to this and there's a reason why. What are some of the mindset, I don't know whether it's challenges you could give them, or what do you see are the biggest mindset? Is it people or them? Do they have to start even to do inner work before they get the help? Like there's something there that makes people stay in this overwhelm for years. I saw it with our mothers. Even now, it's really hard for our mothers to even, for example, even just let someone come and, do gardening for long periods and be like, this is now they want to go supervise, be there every day, sit there, watch, as the gardening is being done. What are these women battling with?
I think it's a case-by-case basis because I can't say generally what they're battling with. But I think for most of us, it's this is what was expected of us, or this is how we grew up. This is how we were sensitized. Like, for example, how many women do you know your age who will not allow the domestic manager to clean their bedrooms? Why?
Many.
Because our mothers did not allow, that time it was house help. Yes, the domestic manager was called a house help.
It's a no-go zone.
It's a no-go zone,
And it's a room like any other.
And it's a room like any other in the house. But house girl, she's not going to touch my bedroom. So we grew up like that. So we don't know any better. Yet, you don't have the time. And that's why taking the step back is very important. Because you start examining all these things. And you start asking yourself, which are the ones I'm willing to carry forward and create time for? And which are the ones that are just a load on my back that I need to shed off? Or I need to start removing bits of the load slowly by slowly because I cannot jump from A to Z. I cannot do it. I need to take step B, step C. Maybe I can jump step D, I need to grow. And you see, growth is a muscle. Even getting out of overwhelm, that was your comfort zone. You know how to operate there. You know how to live overwhelmed. Yes.
I come at this time, within 10 minutes, I don't know, I've washed one, kid, or I have cooked.
Yeah. We do that. And, we don't realize just how conditioned we are to even things that are bad for us. Remember, I talked about the shoe, in the other episode, I talked about the shoe that is pinching, but you have learned how to walk with that shoe. That's overwhelm. You have learned how not to live without overwhelm. You can't even remember how life was without overwhelm. And sometimes you will actually go looking for things to keep you busy. And other times, Overwhelm is something we use so that we don't look deeply into things that we need to change in our lives.
Yeah.
So we keep ourselves busy, we keep ourselves overwhelmed, and I really do not have time to sit and have that conversation.
Because I'm doing things.
That difficult conversation that needs to be had, maybe in the office or at home or with a child or with a friend or with a family member. I don't have time. But then, when you ignore these things, they build up. And then one day it will blow up. And then now you will have to deal with a fire. So are you using overwhelm as an excuse not to address issues in your life? Whether they are physical, they are personal, they are with other people, it doesn't matter. But you're just not wanting to address. So you take a step back and have that critical self-analysis, which is very hard to do on your own. Yeah. So and it's also very painful to do on your own, because the default setting for most people is to beat yourself up. So it's much easier to do these things with an expert.
And it's actually fascinating how also people around you don't even know you're overwhelmed because you've done it so well, which
or they know, but they just
or they know, it's like you said you would do it.
Yeah.
As we were talking about this, we were thinking about me and you in our notes about those who are experiencing overwhelm that has sort of been imposed by life. People who are in caregiving. We have a lot of us women, you are taking care of aging parents. You have a child who is sick and maybe it's long-term illness. You are in a relationship that is strained, and like we said, it's not a one-off cut-off. You're still working through what happens in this relationship. It could be a separation or, there are people are in very complex circumstances, and they are getting help is not just for them. There's a whole ecosystem that is dependent on that. So for this woman who, for example, is taking care of a sick child or their aging mother or father, what does tackling overwhelm look like? Because it's very complex.
It's very complex. And, as we grow older, then we will be taking care of parents or relatives who, and who are getting older or who have conditions that are debilitating. And you will find that in most families, it's a few children, 1 or 2 children, even if they could be 10.
Wow.
It's 1 or 2 who end up carrying the load, financially or physically or both sometimes. And if you are that person that's carrying the load, then it becomes very hard to drop the load, because there's life. This is life-threatening. If you drop the load, then what happens? The person may die. So there's also the guilt. There's the anger. There's all these emotions that you're experiencing. And then there's the guilt of feeling how you're feeling. So there's no way you are going to be fully present and to be a caregiver if you yourself are not being taken care of.
Yes.
Remember, you asked me who takes care of the coach. Yeah. So who takes care of the caregiver? And the good thing right now is that almost all conditions we have a support system.
Yes.
Yeah. So you will find, like, for example, my mom is living with Parkinson's right now. And she's in her late 70s. And with Parkinson's, you lose your motor skills. Slowly, they deteriorate over time. But luckily for her, the deterioration hasn't been very, very fast. So just the other day, we found out that there is a Parkinson's caregiver support group.
Wow.
And, it had never occurred to me. So when I was looking at your show notes is when I was thinking, okay, so maybe there could be something like this. But then we think that these things are available abroad. They're not available here. But they're there locally. And if it's not there locally, why not be the one to start something like that? But then that might add to your overwhelm because starting a support group also requires time. It requires energy. It may require money, but it also feeds your soul. Because now you will be with people who are experiencing similar circumstances. So you can find a few people and then get a therapist to come and help you guys work out
The dynamic.
the dynamic, your emotions, your feelings, and then get experts, get doctors to come and teach you. So collectively, you can do what you could not afford to do alone. So you don't have to walk these journeys alone. No, we don't.
Yeah.
But we choose to.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be the strongest person
In the room.
in the room.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to call out family. You have to call out family.
And just say, I'm tired, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. But how will you call them out without injuring people? Because if you call them out when you're angry, when you're in pain, what will you do? You will just pour out your pain and you will injure people. So that's why it's best to find out whether there are support groups for whatever it is that you're going through, or whatever it is the person you're helping is going through. And then find if possible, find if there's a therapist that can come and help. Find doctors, find other people who have overcome similar situations. Don't try to walk the journey alone.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, because a lot of the overwhelm, people feel like whatever is overwhelming you, there's no answer until you find community.
Yeah.
And you go there and you're like, oh my God,
I'm not alone.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Or so your mother, so your father, so this. And I think a lot of, let's talk also a bit about the shame.
Oh yeah.
The shame.
Yeah.
The shame of I'm failing and now I'm going to ask help as a divorcee. The shame associated with I failed and that's why I have this over. I've just felt it in my spirit because, the shame.
I think I told you my book club, we've just finished reading Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. And she's really studied shame.
Yes.
And that's a book I would highly recommend for
Say
anyone.
it again on the camera.
Get that book, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. Read it in a book club preferably, so that you can, or with other people, read it with people who you can be open and vulnerable with, because it's just an amazing book on shame and authenticity. And, shame comes in so many different forms. But I think we are also shamed and guilted into certain things or certain situations. Like, let's take, for example, if you're the one doing well in your family and then there's a medical crisis for one of the parents, what happens? Everybody steps away and leaves the burden on you. But what if everyone could contribute 1,000 shillings? I don't mind taking the burden, but I also request everyone can contribute something. Or you can contribute in kind. You can contribute time. You can say, I'm the one who will be taking, if it's our dad, I'm the one who will be taking dad for the checkups. I'm the one who will make sure that there's somebody who comes to maybe do physiotherapy. So you can allocate responsibilities together. But now you feel ashamed asking for help from the family because you are the one that is doing best. Let's take divorcee. So whether you chose to leave or you were left, there's that shame and the guilt that comes with it. So if you take the label divorcee and wear it, where will that take you? So it didn't work out. So what? It didn't work out. So let me work on my feelings. Let me work on, again, who I want to become. So this, I got married, it didn't work out.
Just didn't work out.
Yeah. So work out those feelings, get help, get through that murky process of, working out on shame. Yeah.
Because so
go
many
pour
of
it
us,
out.
carrying that.
Don't be that bitter person who joins all these Facebook groups where you are just spewing out your distress and your anger and your bile. Yeah. Like, I chose to become a single mom. I walked out. But you'll never see me talking bad. You'll never hear me in any of those forums. Why? Because part of that mess is mine. And even whatever it is that happened, because I've written about it on my blog a little bit, whatever it is that happened, there are these two children who are our children.
Yes.
How do I want them to treat women in the future? And how do
Wow.
I want my relationship with them to be?
To be.
And no matter what is said and done, their relationship with their father is their
It's a
relationship
whole
with their
different
father.
ballgame.
It's totally
Nothing.
different from me. So if
Wow.
I carry the shame of a relationship not working, then how can I fully show up for my children? How can I fully show up for the women I coach? I cannot fully show up in life if I'm allowing shame to drag me down. But then, again, we talked about levels and layers. We don't know how many layers of shame there
It
are.
could be many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm failing. Even now,
Yeah.
I can't say I'm successful in everything. There are areas I'm failing badly, and they come with shame. So am I going to keep beating myself up?
Yeah.
Am I going to wear, what did they used to call it? A hair shirt. so that I am showing the world just how much punishment I am taking? Or do I choose to learn the lesson? Do I choose to acknowledge the feelings that, yes, I am feeling ashamed? I'm feeling ashamed? I'm feeling ashamed I'm feeling shame because of ABCD. Is this valid? Is it not valid? And then what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I want to feel instead of this?
Instead of that, yeah.
Sometimes you'll be able to work it out on your own. Other times it may be so deep that you may need help. For anyone who's divorced or currently working through their divorce, for Christians now, we have divorce care. It's
Yes, I've heard
very,
about
very
it.
powerful program that's run through the churches.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just look for divorce care and attend the
yeah.
program. I know people who have done it, and it's such an amazing program. So support, community, help. Those are things we need to make a regular part of our lives. Sometimes we'll have to pay for them. Other times they'll be free. But let's stop trying to handle life alone. Yeah. And just in line with this, in the old society, all this was taken care of.
Yeah, by the way, it's true.
Yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, in the old structure of our communities, everything was taken care of. But we've lost that with modernity. And I think that's where the problem comes in, because we are individually trying to live life, yet we are meant to be communal. Yeah.
And I love how you said labels, because also some shame that sometimes I've carried around, it's also blowing it up. I gave myself a label, and now even when people have moved on,
you're still holding on
I'm
to
still
it.
holding. It's like a badge of,
a badge of honor.
Yeah, without even realizing. And yet people are so busy sometimes living their lives. You think they're on your case.
If you knew just how little people think about you, you'd be so shocked. People don't think about you. I mean, how many times do you think about me? Just think, if it wasn't for this, how many times would you have thought about me?
I've seen her newsletter. I'll talk to Caroline. True.
Yeah. People really don't think about you as much as you. We are so busy on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on TikTok. We are busy with life. We are busy with our work. We're busy. We are busy.
Yeah.
So maybe we may sit down and gossip about you a little bit, but that's it.
Even this channel, sometimes I could be so in my head. I don't know, I'm now visible. And yet for someone who was just scrolling pass, oh, Edith, pass. Even people who know me, they're like, oh, she's doing pass, But we've inflated.
Let me tell you a humbling experience that happened recently. So I shifted my email newsletter to a new platform.
Yeah.
And then what happened is I started getting unsubscribes. I have never gotten unsubscribes at the level I have gotten this year. This is quite recent. Yeah. So I sat, and then I started looking, who unsubscribed? Oh my gosh, so and so unsubscribed. What must she be thinking about me? Because these are people I know personally. Yeah. Some of them are people who have been in my email newsletter for even years. From around 2014, when I started. And I started looking at my content. I started looking at the newsletter they unsubscribed. I went down that rabbit hole for almost a month. Just every Sunday, I send out the newsletter. Then on Monday, the first thing I'm doing is checking how many unsubscribes did I get. Just that. And then feeling, it's a good thing you've brought up the issue of shame, because I was feeling ashamed. Why didn't they call me?
I must be failing.
Why didn't they tell me, send me a text message, I don't like your newsletter anymore? Or I have outgrown your newsletter, or I need to take a break from your newsletter. I really beat myself up. And then one day I asked myself, so what if they have outgrown me?
Yeah.
So what if?
Your work was done.
My work was done. Or maybe not.
And
or what if
who
they
knows?
just chose to, this newsletter is just...
And who knows?
Yeah, I have no clue why they unsubscribed. and because I was focusing so much on that, I was not focusing on getting more subscribers.
Oh, you start focusing on the kuda, yes.
Yeah.
And then now you
and I had really beaten myself up.
So you don't look at
I
what's
wanted
ahead.
to close the newsletter because it was a really large number. Then I remembered something someone told me when I started blogging, that a big milestone I should look for is to get my first hater. Because when you get your first hater, it means your content is working. Because your content should attract and repel at the same time. It should attract the people it's meant to attract and repel everybody else. And I forgot that lesson. So the unsubscribes were telling me something. And when I look, I realize probably these people do no longer need this newsletter. So my tone has changed, my content has changed, and I need to look for more people who fit with this tone and content.
And they just hit that button, the click of a mouse, and they went on to take lunch or do
and they
something.
Moved on. And here I am every Monday morning, angry and ashamed and all that. So we are so much in our heads that we create, as you said, we create narratives, we create stories, we beat ourselves up. Watu hawana habari, they moved on. Yeah.
It reminds me on TikTok, me and my head of production, Mr. Isaac, he was like, Edith, some few people have like unfollowed you from TikTok. And I was like, oh my God, with such nice content. And we just moved ourselves out of it. We were just like, it's fine. We are playing the long-term game. Wherever we are going, we cannot we can't focus on this.
Yeah.
So, and I love the way you said, you might focus so much on what's you're thinking, the voices in your head, and you forget to just move forward. As we end this, I remember, I don't know, back in 2020, I did your 28-day challenge. I'm not sure I finished, but it's a program you still run up to today. Talk us a bit through it and some of the tips that someone could borrow as we end, because I'm really big on the things that you could take away, even if someone never gets to work with you or hear your wisdom in the future. At least now they have ideas of how the overwhelm and just coming back into self-care looks like.
Yeah. Actually, when you asked me that question, I realized it's not just the 20 days of loving yourself challenge. I love challenges. So like this year, I'm doing 365 days of gratitude. So every evening, I sit down and write at least 6 things I'm grateful for. Last year, I did 40 days of lessons learned with a friend. And every day we would send each other a lesson we've learned that day. And then every year in July, I do 40 days of being. So you're just being. I don't plan, and you know me and planning. I'm Mama planning. I don't plan. I work with what I'm meant to be working on at that time, but I'm just being and allowing life to just move, and then I journal about it. So for me, challenges are really something I love. I discovered them by accident. And let's circle back now to the 20 Days of Loving Yourself challenge. What happened is in 2017, September, I was just having a conversation with a friend, and we are both coaches. No, she's a consultant. And we were like, you know what? She wanted to get into business coaching. I wanted to exit business coaching and just focus on life coaching. And we were saying, we serve the same market, and we have ideas that can really help in the marketplace. So why don't you have your pie, I have my pie. So instead of that, why don't we create a bigger pie? But when we examined, we had skills that we were lacking. We both hate admin. We are good at it, but we both hate it. We both hated marketing.
Yeah.
So we looked for 2 other coaches who are great at what we are not great at. And we formed a business together.
Wow.
So in February 2018, when the business was still fresh and we were wondering, what is it that we can do? No, that was January 2018 when we were thinking, what can we do in February for our audience so that we can just give something, you know?
Yeah.
And then we evaluated the challenges that our clients were going through. We were all working with women. So we evaluated the challenges our clients were going through, and that's how we came up with the 28 days of loving yourself challenge. And this is, you know, what happens for women is that there's a rush in November and December. You know, close the year strong. And then if you're a parent, December and November, schools are closed. You know, and then December comes if you're planning Christmas. And now if you have a partner and there's family, extended family involved, so November and December are crazy.
Yeah.
And then comes January, the rush to set goals, the rush to kick off the year strong, the rush to get children back to
strategies
school.
for the workplace.
It's So those 3 months can be very exhausting, especially for women. So what if you took February just for you? You know, February is for me. February is to put myself back into my picture. February is for my self-care and self-love, because also women, we lack self-love.
Yeah.
We love everyone else except ourselves. And if you ask a woman, so what do you like about yourself? She may not tell you much. But what don't you like about yourself?
We have a whole list.
We have a list, starting with body.
In fact, there's always a part of the body that...
More than one.
Tummy.
You know, we are always talking about things that we don't like about ourselves, about our lives, about our situations. But we never talk about what we love. So self-love is very important. And then now, when we think about self-care, there are things that we don't think could be self-care, like decluttering. You know, decluttering your physical space, decluttering your emotions, decluttering your social media, decluttering people. You know, who are the people you're carrying and it's time to let go? Who are the people who left you and you're still trying to force yourself back? You're still holding on to their garments and they're dragging you. You know, let go. Letting go of things that no longer serve us. Letting go of ideas that have been overtaken by time. So actually the first week of the challenge, we work on decluttering. And then the second week of the challenge, we work on self-love and self-care. And, you know, being kind to yourself. You know, this is when you speak nicely to yourself as a person. And the third week of the challenge, we talk about passion, energy, and commitment.
Wow.
Because, you know, you cannot be committed to things that you're not passionate about. You cannot. You may be committed because there's money that will come out of it, but real commitment from the heart accompanies passion. And you cannot be energetic about things you're not passionate about. So passion is really like a foundation. So what am I passionate about? And that's how I came back to knitting, because for me this year I realized I haven't been knitting. I used to love it. It's something that, you know, it helps me, and it helps me declutter my mind. You know, it helps me get ideas. It may sound like something so small, but it has a big impact for me. So what are the things that you're passionate about? The causes you're passionate about, you know, the things that give you joy.
Yes.
And energy flows where passion is.
Yeah, passion goes.
So whatever you're passionate about, it pulls your energy. So are you spending your energy in the right spaces? Check where you're spending your energy. Overwhelm means you're spending your energy in the wrong places. Yeah. Wow. The places you're not passionate about, you're committed to places that you're not passionate about. So that the third week is really a big thing. And then in the last week, we talk about focus. Why? Because when all is said and done, taking care of ourselves,
as part of loving yourself.
Loving yourself, you have to be focused.
Yeah.
And you cannot be focused on too many things. And that's where focus demands sacrifice comes in. So what are the things I need to focus on? What are the things I need to, I call it a prioritization matrix. You now put all the things you want to be, do, have, and then you ask yourself, which are the ones I want to keep? And you put them in the keep column.
Yeah.
Which are the ones I want to delegate? That bedroom you must wash. You can delegate. Which are the ones I want to defer? They are good ideas. I don't want to drop them, but I can put them on the back burner for now. And which are the ones that I could merge, and which are the ones I need to drop? And then once you have that clear, then the things in your keep column will always be very few. And that's where you need to focus on. Whatever you need to delegate, you remember that you can delegate the work, but you cannot delegate responsibility. You still need to be responsible. The things you need to defer, put them on the back burner. If there are people you need to inform them. And then the things you need to merge them. And the things you need to dump, throw them out.
That's like a transformational, man. It's actually a lot of wow.
It's actually just a template.
Because when you think of it, 20 days of loving, you just think of spas. Or did you take out? Yeah, walks are important, but you will have to do a lot of reorganization, prioritization.
Exactly. And every year, because I do the challenge myself, when I'm taking people through it, every year it transforms my life.
Wow.
Since 2018. Yeah.
What a way to end. If you haven't picked, I said we are in a powerful masterclass. We just did part 3. Is it part 3 or 4?
Yes, it is.
Part 3.
One more to go.
To get Caroline on a seat this many hours, please, I urge you, play this over and over again, because some of these strategies are so simple, yet we overlook them, and the wisdom that's coming through is so precious. But once again, thank you so much for joining. Please share, subscribe. It tells the algorithm we have something really good going on. Share with your mom, your friend, because these topics are things that will unburden our soul. And I'll see you next time.